Yo, what up? This is your boy Rama, and I'm still here in my homeland, Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm talking really close to the microphone right now because it's late night. I think it's already past midnight here. I don't want to wake the neighbors, and I don't feel like yelling from the top of my lungs or speaking too loud either. It's been a full day. I've run out of energy, so that's why I'm speaking close to the microphone. So, but I want to give you my 2 cents on this topic, which I'm still learning about as I go. Mind you, I'm not an expert on this topic, but I have some thoughts about it, in case you're interested. So, last week, as you may have noticed, all over the internet, especially if you are on X or Twitter, you would see, or you would have seen, one of the trending stuff was Google DeepMind's new AI, Veo3, VEO3. I think you pronounce it Veo or VO3. However you want to call it. And it's basically a prompt to video AI. And there were many examples on Twitter or X of what that looked like. And I implore you to check it out. I'm not kind of like rah promoting it, but I was just like, go see it for yourself. They had videos of stand-up comics, videos of an action scene. There's one of Jurassic Park. Somebody made a prompt to Google VO3 video of this whole scene of somebody or like an influencer visiting Jurassic Park. And the AI, you know how it is with AI. It's not completely perfect. And so there were some hiccups, if you will, like the velociraptors were like eating grass instead of meat and stuff like that. So, but what I was going to say is, it looked almost real, especially the stand-up comics and the influencers and some of the action sequences. They look like real people talking to the camera, doing their thing. There's even like a whole video of like a car show or auto show, and there's like I can't tell the difference. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I thought it was filmed in an actual auto show with actual interviews with real people, because it looked real. They look like real human beings, but they're not. They're AI. And there's a bunch of those other examples as well, where the characters would say, "Oh, we're prompts. I can't believe we are prompts." And so that was quite bananas, quite crazy, if you will. And it brought to question, what will this do? What will this new version of AI do to Hollywood and our society? And so I wanted to make this video to kind of give you my thoughts about why I think this new Veo3 is a threat, and why I think it's also an exciting opportunity. So it's like a double-edged sword thing. If you can see it either way. Depending how you want to view this situation. As far as it being scary, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, they say AI is gonna ruin Hollywood. Just look at those VO3 or VO3 videos. I fear for Hollywood. I fear for the filmmaking industry, and not necessarily like the big studios with billions of dollars in their banks. Artists, creative screenwriters, directors, the actual workers, independent filmmakers. I fear for them, because now there's this tool, there's this AI that looks like it's so advanced. There's no need for a cinematographer anymore. There's no need for a script writer anymore. There's no need for a sound guy anymore. It's like, that's crazy, man. It reminds me of that South Park episode. They took our jobs, and yeah, it's kind of taking people's jobs away. Now, not just that, in the larger picture too. Software engineer, coders' jobs will be threatened, definitely. Soon there will be no need for them, and that's scary. That's people's livelihoods. Now, I know a lot of people will be, some people who are pro Veo3 or pro AI killing Hollywood would say, well, that's good. Hollywood is like freaking DEI and liberals, and they're nothing. So it's good that we take it. Really? You want to make this political? It comes down to people's, like, again, livelihoods, economic situation. It doesn't matter what political spectrum you are in. I mean, people will lose their jobs. I mean, have some empathy, And not only that, I mean, this is the same people who were cheering when Elon Musk's Doge, fired federal workers. They're like, oh, good, no more waste, no more spend. Dude, this is people's jobs. This is how they feed their families. Unbelievable. The lack of empathy in this country is just, it blows my mind. And, here's the thing. Here's how I want to counter the argument with this. Okay, so you're celebrating now, but think about it this way. Okay? You don't fully realize the ramification. That's the word I was looking for. What was the word? You don't fully realize the ramification of that, of AI taking people's jobs away, Hollywood or otherwise. And here's the ramification, okay? If you think that it doesn't directly impact you or doesn't directly affect you, you're wrong. It does. How? Well, think of it this way. If all of a sudden thousands of people lose their job because of AI, just like thousands of people lost their job, their federal work job because of Doge, well, those thousands of people will enter the job market. So you may have your job security right now, whatever you do for a living. Think of a scenario. If you say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to ask my job for a pay raise. Your boss is not going to give you that. Because why? Your boss is going to be thinking, well, why should I give you a pay raise when I can just fire you and then give your job to the next desperate person in line? Because there's thousands of people now looking for jobs. And you know what? I can even pay them lower wages, and there's nothing they can do about it because they're desperate. Because they just lost their Hollywood job, or they just lost their federal work job. See now that directly affects you. So some people just don't think things through when they're celebrating about people losing their jobs. AI is scary in that way, AI is scary. And then when you're trying to apply for jobs, you're going to be competing with thousands of people that are also lost their jobs and now, again, are in the job market competing against you. So it's going to be like a rat race to the bottom. And the employer's like, oh, we can just pay them lower wages. They're gonna say, no, of course not. They're desperate. So AI, just like automation and machinery replace manual labors, AI will replace creative workers and coders and, people who work, in front of the laptop. Even remote work like email marketing or advertising. Companies will be like, why do we need these people? We can just get maybe one or two to do the prompts, and voila, that's it. I mean, the thing is, what you gotta know is, like, every corporation, every time they want to cut costs, the first thing they look at potentially cutting costs on is labor. Labor. They're not cutting costs on the CEO extravagant pay raise. They're not cutting costs on this and that and that. It's always the labor. Just like when you hear school funding or public school funding is getting cut, it's always the art department or the books or the library. I mean, it's like, again, people don't realize the ramification of that. But to these hotshots, this big time CEOs or executives or people in suits, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about people like you and me. And especially one example that you already know, David Zaslav, the executive at the WB or WBD. He doesn't care. He's put there to cut costs and to increase profit, especially his own salary. I mean, these companies, these studios, they are essentially machines. That's how they think. And anything or anybody that gets in the way, gone. Replaced by AI or anything that could be more efficient or can streamline their business. So that is scary in that way. Yeah, man. But the other side of it is, I wanna give you also what I think are the positives of a tool like Google's DeepMind's Veo3 can offer. I read somewhere that filmmaker Darren Aronofsky, you know him, right? The Wrestler, The Fountain, Noah movie, so on and so forth. Darren Aronofsky reportedly is working with Google DeepMind, or collaborating, I should say, not working, collaborating to find out a way if storytelling and filmmaking can work side by side with AI. In other words, he's trying to figure out how to implement a tool like Google's Veo3 into storytelling and filmmaking. So instead of like battling against it, or like no, anti AI, is just like what the actors strike did a couple of years ago. Anti is bad, AI is bad. Instead of having that mindset, Darren Aronofsky is like, okay, if we can't beat them, let's join them. Let's find a way. And you know what? That is a positive thinking in my opinion, because kind of like the transition from horse and buggy to cars, nearly a century ago. Yeah. There will always be changes in our society, just like Blockbuster has to die because streaming service has to flourish. You get what I'm saying? Internet replaces how the video worked before the dawn of internet. So it's like our society always changes, and people like Darren Aronofsky are like, okay, maybe we have to change with it. We don't necessarily have to like keep going against it. And that's a positive thinking. That's not something that I would be, oh my God, I can't believe you are trying to work with AI. I would like, okay, maybe if you can find a way, good for you, good on you. Let's share that with the world, what that is, Darren. The other thing that I think is positive about something like Google's Veo3 is that it democratizes art. It democratizes creativity. By that I mean even people who, how certain industries have gatekeepers, or oh, we're not gonna allow you to. We're not gonna let you in unless you do this A, B, C, D, E. Unless you get the certificate, unless you get the degree, unless you study a few years, unless you work your way up from being the catering on the set to assistant, first AD. You got to work your way up. You got to get the coffees for the directors first before you got to learn the craft by. Gatekeepers will say that to you, like, on the film set, and gatekeepers on other industries too. Like, oh, you got to do this, and you're not going to just jump. Now, something like AI or something like Veo3 pretty much overlaps that gatekeeping, or kicks it completely out of the way. It's like, oh, you don't need just put in some prompts and you can make your own video. You can make your own. And I can see the fun in that. I can see why that would be fun. Just like that Jurassic Park video I told you about. As a fan of the franchise, as a fan of dinosaurs, I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. That looks really cool. I can do that too. Obviously, I can't right now because Veo3 costs, I believe, $250 a month, subscription per month. So the people who had posted those videos on Twitter so far are people who have deep pockets, people who have money to burn, people who are definitely richer than me. So maybe in the near future, Google DeepMind will lower or decrease the cost for us poor folks. Who knows? So yeah, but the point is, it democratizes art, democratizes creativity. Now everybody can do it. Gatekeepers can't tell you, oh, you can't do that. No. It's like, just like social media, just like internet has democratized the news. Back in the day, we watch it on TV, MSNBC, CNN. Those are the gatekeepers. They tell us what's happening on the day. And then sometimes half of it will be propaganda, and we couldn't do anything but to eat that up. But now it's like everybody's doing their own news. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by democratizing. So that's positive number 2. That I could see this coming from something like Google's Veo3, and people like, oh, you know what? I want to make my own movie of, I hated that Ghost Rider film starring Nicolas Cage. That movie sucked. Let me make a better one. Let me show you what an actual Ghost Rider movie should look like. I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a director, but let me put in the prompt. Boom, Google Veo3, the whole scene. And this actor that looks just like Ghost Rider, and it's like full story and everything. Again, democratizes creativity and art, even if you haven't gone to a film school or taken a film class a day in your life. So there's something good in that. That's I don't want to, you might see me as a bad guy for saying that, but I'm the kind of person who, like, hey, share the wealth, share the fun with everybody if you can. Why gatekeeping? Why? So that's why I was asking for like lower price. Why? Because the $250 per month subscription, that's a form of gatekeeping as well. So yeah, if you can't beat them, join them. That's the mentality of the positive effect of AI on Hollywood and society. Again, the world is changing, man. The world is changing, and we gotta figure out, AI is not gonna go away. Veo3 already looks like that. It's crazy amazing how real they look. What about the next step? What about the next evolution of AI? And that's coming up pretty soon, probably from some other company. AI is not going anywhere. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's inevitable. I know, again, it's scary. Right now, the power kind of still lies with us because we put in the prompts. But what if AI can think for itself and can do prompts for itself and eventually leads to Terminator Judgment Day situation. So that is a scary thought, or iRobot. That's the scary part. But the other part is like, oh my God, those videos look kind of cool. See, this is why I am a socialist. I know a lot of people think that that's kind of like a boogeyman word or a taboo word, but socialists can kind of help fix this situation. That's socialism can be a solution to this. Well, number one, we need regulations, right? Because Veo3 and others like it, other AIs like Veo3, has turned our society or our creative society, however you want to call it, into the new Wild Wild West. And you can't have outlaws and stuff like that in the Wild Wild West. You got to have regulations. You got to have the sheriffs in town. You got to have, so there needs to be guardrails. Unfortunately, our politicians, our representatives, not just in America, but also practically in every country in the world, are owned by corporations, are owned by studios, are owned by big companies, big pharma, big oil, big studios. They have those people in their pocket. So until we get money out of politics, those regulations, those guardrails, oh man, there needs to be some sort of catastrophic event that would make the representatives like, you know what, fuck your corporate money. I need to do this for my constituents. So there needs to be guardrails, man. There needs to be something like that. And the other thing too is that this is why I believe in UBI, Universal Basic Income. I believe Andrew Yang was the politician who proposed that a few years back. Here's what I mean by that. So AI is going to take over the world, right? AI is going to take over our jobs. Corporations will fire a bunch of people and replace a bunch of us with AI and prompt people. So there needs to be a UBI, meaning Universal Basic Income, ensuring that as corporations' productivity goes higher and higher, there should be guarantees that some of those profits, profits that the corporations enjoy can also go to the masses. Not just the selective few shareholders, not just the selective few CEOs with their golden parachutes. The masses should also enjoy that. And not just the politicians in the corporations' pockets. There should be, again, back to regulations. There should be a rule saying, okay, you're gonna fire a bunch of people? You're gonna replace them with AI? Fine. But make sure that whatever profit you make off of that AI, you share it with the masses. You share it with the public, general public. And I don't know what form of regulation that would take, but that should be part of the discussion that could help fix this situation. Oh, I forgot to mention another thing that makes AI scary for our society is it's gonna embolden a lot of scammers. You know how scammers have. You've seen the movie Beekeeper with Jason Statham. That's pretty much happening in real life. A lot of scammers have scammed a lot of our senior citizens out of their savings accounts. AI, something as sophisticated as Veo3, where you can't tell what's real and what's not anymore, it's going to be used by scammers and con artists to now you're like, oh, you're going to think, oh, that guy seems genuine. No, that guy's not real. He's AI, mom. Don't give him your money. It's crazy. It's crazy. So it's going to embolden scammers. And yeah, and the people like, I feel sorry, I feel bad for people who are gonna like fall for the lies and the deception. You know, it can be a wonderful tool, AI or Google Veo3, but it can also be an evil tool in the wrong hands. Job interviews. I've seen situations. You've seen probably stories on TikTok where like, oh my God, I went on this job interview and I thought I was talking to the HR person, but turns out it's not a real person. It's AI. You know, now with Veo3 and new AIs like Veo3, everybody's going to get duped. So again, there needs to be guardrails. There needs to be regulations preventing that from happening, protecting regular folks, and ensuring that regular folks who would lose their jobs because they got replaced by AI would be insured basic income. There has to be something. We cannot and we should not live in a society where the corporations reap all the benefits while the rest of us have to sleep on the streets, out on the streets, or have to scrape by. I get that capitalism revels in that. Capitalism revels in the fact that, okay, some people will make it and some people will don't. That's just capitalism. Huh? Then we should not let that kind of capitalism run amok or wreak havoc on us. There needs to be some socialism in place to balance that out, to make sure that that doesn't go out of control. Otherwise, the positives of AI that I mentioned to you will be overshadowed, or eventually will get lessen and lessen, will get decrease, and will get overpowered by the negatives of AI. You know, the scary parts. How it will just pretty much, run us over basically. And that's not good. So yeah, I fear for Hollywood. But then again, Hollywood is already a dying industry anyway, as you know. Not a lot of movies and TVs are being filmed over there anyway. So it's in the tax breaks country, wherever that country may be. So it's just a sad state of the industry that I have loved or have had passion in ever since I could remember. Big fan of movies and TV ever since I could remember. And to see it go like this, slowly and steadily dying or getting killed by AI, getting hurt by AI, despite some people like Darren Aronofsky trying to find some... Maybe we can all just get along. Can we all get along? Storytellers, filmmakers, and AI somehow? Unless there's rules and regulations and guardrails put in place, it's going to be bleak. It's going to be a bleak future for Hollywood and for our society. In the words of Samuel L. Jackson in the Jurassic Park movie, hold on to your butts. So that's it. Those are my thoughts about this Google DeepMind's new AI Veo3 and its positive and negative effects on Hollywood and our society. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with the points or the bullet points I shared with you earlier? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Let's rock this.